This might leave some of you shocked and dismayed, but Papa North is gonna tell you right now, Andor is better than Mando, hands down.
For North!
That's right, Nerd North, we are talking Andor Episode 1, 2, and 3. And for those in the fandom that have been complaining that their Star Wars is too funny, not grounded, it feels like it has no stakes, Papa North is going to tell you this might be the series for you, and it's a breath of fresh air. Before we even get started, let's talk about the great music in this show. From the opening credits to the almost 80s synthwave type music we are hearing throughout this whole show so far. It gives it more of a cinematic feeling, and has almost an 80s detective quality-esque sound to it. The score really helps drive a lot of the scenes, and punches home some great quality moments. Like the two that stop Andor in the alleyway in the very opening scene that he winds up having to kill, or during the flashbacks to his childhood, or when the Empire Security Company arrives on scene. You feel the music in your soul, and you feel the music for the characters for every scene is just perfect. For once, it's nice to see a droid that's actually functionable and not used as a cute little side piece to sell toys. Papa North gotta love that little Buck Rogers a beady 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 sound that they throw in when it speaks. It hit the spot and Papa North is loving it. It felt more real and less animated like the other droids we've seen as of recent, like BB-8, Dayu, and Lola. And hats off to the special effects team because this droid looks great. It looks like something any one of us could own. And while we're talking about special effects, the blend of practical and CG are married perfectly so far in this series, and all the sets look epic and great. Something we should be seeing on the big screen but loving on the small screen. And in the first 3 episodes, we get a lot of character development and story. We have a great little love triangle between Andor, his ex-Biggs, and her new boyfriend. And although she's in love with her new man, you know she still feels some loyalty to the cause. And that cause being helping Andor causes a lot of tension between her and her man. And also has a great co-worker buddy who knows Andor's up to no good but never quite asks. Andor needs to ask him to cover for him. His buddy was even clever enough to say, "You got a little out of hand last night with your drinking, so I had to give you the business, and this is why you're back to apologize," explaining Andor's shiner. Things that make sense and aren't laughed off like in other series. And this introduction of the security company for the Empire is such a nice touch, as you can see the beginnings of a leader who really wants to take charge, with that feeling of doing nothing is the worst thing you could do at all. Papa North assures you he's going to be a force to be reckoned with later in the series. Kind of like the General Hux we all deserve. There is a lot of flashbacks in these 3 episodes, but most important, showing how Andor went from an innocent child to becoming part of a group that went on a scavenger hunt after they saw an Empire ship go down to see what they could find there. And what at first seems like a fun child's game without consequence turns real bad when he sees one of his childhood friends get killed by an Imperial while they're on the hunt. You can see the sense of helplessness yet anger, and it's a real moving moment in this series. I know Papa North is jumping all over, but you really gotta see this show for yourself. But Papa North does love the contrast between this home planet that's beautiful, green, and lush, and the one he's on now that's more industrialized and steampunk-like. There is a point where you see his home planet has been mined and destroyed by the Empire. Now, throughout these 3 episodes, Andor has this Imperial device that lets him buy any Imperial checkpoint without getting noticed. And now with the Imperial security team on his tail after those 2 murders, he needs to get out of Dodge quick. But his ex has a contact that could buy that Imperial device for big credits, and although her new boyfriend isn't in on what's happening, he grows to become more jealous and seems to follow her around town, check out her computer files and such to see just what's going on. In these scenes, we see some real gritty and dirty shots of areas where it's not as pretty and pristine as other parts in the Rebellion and or the Empire. It gives this show a real grounded feeling, and feels a little more tangible as something like you can actually experience. And for those streamers complaining about the lack of Easter eggs and cameos or whatever, fine eye will see that there were all sorts of little subtle Easter eggs all over the place, especially in some of the outfits and clothing the characters wore. Not so in your face like other series, more of a subtle nod, which is a nice refreshing idea. So cat's out of the bag, the security team knows they are looking for Cassian Andor. The town rallies behind them and starts to make all sorts of distractions and noises for the security team. Papa North forgot to mention it was Andor's ex's new boyfriend who ratted him out to the security team. Just like any good movie cliche, he turned good before he died. So we're going back to the flashback where now little Andor, after seeing his friend die, decides to go into this Imperial ship by himself where he finds all sorts of dead bodies in the control room. And what seems to be a mother in current day with this series is with what seems to be a rebellion partner early on in the days of the rebellion, hearing a noise from inside this Imperial ship. Scavenging for remnants from the ship herself or her in the rebellion, she comes across little Andor. Her and her partner argue whether they should leave the boy or take him when she decides that they will kill him if he stays there. So a lot of this series is going to be based upon Andor trying to discover where he came from and just what happened to his people. By the third episode, finally, Andor meets his contact. That's right, the guy who says, Cassian Andor! And what a great character he's turned out to be so far. I love the flying bus device that he comes in to see Andor on. It reminds me of the bus-type vehicle that both Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman had to take when they dressed up as peasants in Attack of the Clones. And the security ships were like the ones the clone troopers flew in the same movie. Like Papa North said, subtle nods if you got that eagle eye. Long story short, the Contact and Andor are surrounded inside a factory, and what turns out to be more of an interview than it really was to purchase an item off of Andor. These two need to find an escape route quick. Well, at the same time, Andor's left wondering, who are you and how do you know so much about me? And in the same scene, finally the guards bust through, they blow out the doors, and one of the greatest shootout scenes you've ever seen in cinematic history. We got engines falling from the ceiling, security members being shot up, and all sorts of juicy pew-pew that Papa North loves. Pew-pew! And finally, Andor's forced to make that decision. Stay on the planet he loves, fighting his small fight, or become part of something bigger and actually leave with the Contact. And as he decides to go with the Contact, leaving on a speeder bike, with a great little decoy speeder in the city. And as he takes off with the Contact, we see sunny skies ahead, but go back to the flashback scene, back and forth, where he's now with his surrogate mother who found him on the Imperial ship, flying off into sunnier skies, making these 3 episodes about the history that shapes a man and new beginnings. Hands down better than what we've gotten in The Mandalorian. Papa North might dare say better than anything we've gotten in Star Wars so far. Tell me what you think. Did you love this show? Did you hate this show? Leave a comment below and tell Papa North what you thought. Don't forget, the more comments and likes you leave gives me more of a chance to make some great nerdy content for subscribers like you. A big shout out to my best friend and super nerd and our new admin, Patti Richardson. She has shared, liked, and commented on every single video Nerd North has ever made. But for more than that, for believing in the dream and being such a big part of it. Patti, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a super nerd. And as always, a big shout out to the Rezonator. We thank him for supplying the theme songs to all of our Nerd North videos. Check him out on Bandcamp for all sorts of great albums and creations like Mild Sedative. And more of his other creations to be featured in videos coming up soon. His descriptions are in the links below. And to the Nerd North subscribers, 116 and still growing. Thank you all. Without you guys, the show could never happen. And for all at Team North, for all you do to help this channel grow. Andor is better than The Mandalorian. And until next time, North!